Imagine, if you will, a door. A Stargate is a bit like the ones you have in your home. They're fixed, lead between two rooms, and rarely, pending renovation, get moved around. This makes memorizing your home's layout a breeze. You know you need to go up the stairs and make a left to reach your deluxe Eve battle station gaming room. But what if every day the doors in your home were not only on a different wall than they were yesterday, but led to a completely different room than before? How would you know how to get to your battle station? Would you just aimlessly wander around and hope for the best? This essay intends to illustrate how I visualize connections within Eve's framework with a variety of metaphors and a little bit of imagination. The goal is to change the way you imagine the galaxies in your head and help you navigate the galaxies better. Okay, so a door is a barrier from one place to another. Its purpose is to both partition and to connect. In Eve, there are many objects that could be construed as simple doors, but for the purpose of this discussion, we're going to focus on the two most obvious examples: stargates and wormholes. Indeed, these game objects are all but doors, just instead of connecting rooms, they connect two solar systems. But as we know, both objects, stargates and wormholes, are extremely different. The thought of stargates invokes a scene of heavy industrial traffic, possibly Concord, and of course, gate camps. It's worth noting that players can essentially create their own stargates with jump bridges, but this is bigger picture stuff. Stargates themselves rarely, if ever, change targets and can therefore be thought of as permanent couplings between locations. Let's go back to the home metaphor. Stargates are doors between rooms in a home. That's it. Of course, these rooms can contain things, but a Stargate simply implies that there is a room on the other side. The implication, importantly, is that it is just a room. If this doesn't make sense now, it will once we get to the next section, but focus on the generic sense of the word room. In a way, New Eden can be thought of as a large building with many generic rooms and fixed doors leading between the rooms. It's really up to players and CCP to decorate these rooms to make them have purpose. Otherwise, they're just drywall and carpet. But of course, even just a generic, empty room has some traits, and sometimes these traits make those rooms more valuable. For example, the room with a door that acts as a choke point into the rest of the building is going to be much more important in defending the building. Furthermore, a room only accessible by going through many other rooms, a dead-end room if you will, might be ideal if you're trying to get some peace and quiet. Lastly, if your friends are all hanging out in a few particular rooms, it would probably make sense that you would value a room nearby them over identical rooms further away. This is the kind of thinking that leads us to the map of New Eden. We've got a preset arrangement of rooms with fixed doors, and the value of each room is largely derived from the activity and relations of the subjects that inhabit them. Thus, it's not that difficult for us as state builders to envision New Eden's over 5,400 solar systems as a whole, even without the luxury of tools like the in-game map and Dotlan. it would be trivial to make a coherent, permanent map of the land. On the rare occasion a Stargate is tinkered with by the developers, it's a quick fix. Certainly nothing that would affect the quality and reliability of the map. So, where does that leave wormholes? Wormholes, precisely as stargates do, also connect one solar system to another solar system. The key difference is that wormholes are temporary. They expire after some time has elapsed or with too much use. They can and do connect systems within New Eden, but notably, unlike stargates, wormholes move around over time and therefore cannot be thought of as permanent couplings, but instead a temporary passageway. Furthermore, and more interestingly, wormholes allow pilots to change galaxies from New Eden to Anaoikis and back. Totally different galaxies. And remember, Anaoikis has no stargates. In the introduction, we teased the idea of wormholes serving as doors. If Anaoikis is a building, like New Eden was in the previous metaphor, complete with thousands of rooms, how can it be possible to get around the house on a daily basis when the doors themselves constantly disappear and redirect themselves to new rooms? Well, to understand the answer and to simultaneously grasp what it's like living in wormhole space, we'll need to introduce a new layer to the metaphor. In New Eden's building, the rooms were all generic. A room was a room. What's inside of it really didn't matter for the purposes of navigation. But of course, rooms have purposes. In New Eden, there are, of course, metaphorical bedrooms, bathrooms, garages, attics, and so on, but crucially, each room could generally be repurposed to fill any of these roles, therefore underlining the idea that these rooms are interchangeable and not unique. But in Anaoikis, the rooms are different. Each room itself has a clear purpose. Indeed, in Anaoikis, a bedroom is just a bedroom. It can't be a bathroom. A closet is just a closet. There's no renovating. Rooms do not change purpose and therefore cannot be considered generic. The purpose of a room in the metaphor is represented in-game as a system class, of which there are 13 in Anaoikis. The majority of systems fall within 6 of those classes, though. Let's reveal another detail, another magical property of wormhole doors. There's a window smack dab in the middle of them. Every time you wake up, your house is in a completely different configuration according to the wormhole door system. The door to your bathroom is now on the far wall of your bedroom when before it was on the near wall. Importantly though, you don't really care what wall it's on. You don't navigate by directions. You don't get around by remembering to turn here, open this door, and then turn again. Instead, you simply enter a room, look through the window of each door in that room, and immediately have a sense for what's next to you. This is represented in-game as the wormhole's name and its graphical interior reflection of the destination system. If you want to go to the bathroom, simply look around. Do you see a bathroom through the windows of the wormhole doors? Great. If not, well, you'll simply go into another room and have another look. Is there a bathroom? Great. But this is problematic in a sense, and you can probably get a feel for that already. What if, for example, you just really had to go to the bathroom? Can you really afford to just randomly look around room to room, hoping to find the bathroom? Probably not. Well, fortunately, you don't need to. Here is the last detail, the one that solves the puzzle. Wormhole rooms each have a wormhole door that always leads to a single type of room. A bathroom, for example, might always have a door to a bedroom. And a bedroom might, for example, always have a door to a foyer. And the foyer, as one might expect, might always have a door outside, or to finish the metaphor, back to New Eden. These guaranteed doors are represented in-game as static wormholes. When you recognize and combine these three details, that wormhole doors have a set type, like a bathroom, a window that allows us to peer inside, and a guaranteed door that we know for sure will be there, you're left in a position to where you can navigate heuristically through your home to wherever you want to go. What this looks like in practice is what capsuleers refer to as mapping. You're in your bedroom, or for this example, your bedroom is a class 5 system. You want to go outside, which is New Eden. To get there, you're relying on a couple facts. Your room, the class 5 system, has a guaranteed wormhole door, or a static that points to your living room, or a class 2 system. And since we know that living rooms, or class 2s here, have a high chance of having an exterior door that leads to the outside, we can kind of get a sense for how this works. You can simply wake up, go into your guaranteed door which leads to the living room, and then from the living room, you have a really high chance of being able to just immediately leave. This is how people navigate wormhole space. The concept of mapping wormhole space is basically the idea of walking around your house and noting down which doors lead where. Until those doors end up actually vanishing and reappearing with new destinations, which could be quite some time later, you effectively have a floor plan of your house, and with that, you can navigate quickly and effectively. Just imagine a criminal entering your home with these shifting doors. If you have it mapped and they don't, we're talking a Home Alone type scenario here. It would be a bloodbath. Okay, so we understand what the two types of metaphorical doors are in Eve, but we're not actually any closer to understanding what Anoikos, or wormhole space, actually looks like, right? There's no in-game map for Anoikos, and we sure as heck have no obvious means of determining how far away things are without tools like jump drives, but amazingly, many years ago, somebody already did the legwork for us. Indeed, after wormhole space was imagined and implemented and reappropriated, some clever Eve scientists or role players realized something incredible. If you anchor two starbase control towers, the corporation information panel displays exactly how far away they are from each other. This was a mundane feature, largely not useful in New Eden given the presence of the map, but these scientists were not interested in New Eden. They were in fact interested in Anoikos, and with this mundane feature, now actually have a way to visualize it. The research using this methodology was dubbed Project Compass. You see, if you put 4 starbases in New Eden and then drop control towers all over Anoikos, you get a bunch of distances as data points. A sharp mind can take this data and quadrangulate the positions of the systems in Anoikos using New Eden as a reference. And that's exactly what they did. They didn't hit all the systems in Anoikos, but they did manage to get an incredible visualization of the galaxy nonetheless. Although it's entirely too close to New Eden to be realistic, it's safe to assume that the developers didn't intend for people to be able to find out the distance in the first place. The last bit of awesome lore to note, and since we're celebrating the legwork of some of our Eve forefathers, let's talk about those J codes, or the names of solar systems in Anaoikos. These codes are actually something called locus signatures, which actually do have a meaning. The first digit pair represents an hour, the second pair minutes, and the third pair seconds. This is why you won't see the first pair of numbers greater than 24. It's also why you won't see the second and third pairs of numbers go above 59 in most cases. Class 13s are an exception for reasons I don't quite understand. But these locus signatures are actually really clever, and let me explain why. If you picture a clock face and superimpose it in 3 different dimensions, you can apply this locus signature to generate a vector. If one of the clocks is in hours, 0 would be pointed up and 23 would be right next to it, so you'd go all the way around the clock. And the other two are 0 to 59. According to the lore, this vector should point towards the nearest quasar, but according to Project Compass, this idea may have been abandoned at some point during the creation of the lore, or we don't fully understand the implementation. Although we've spent the majority of this essay courting metaphors of homes and doors, I'd like to spin one final analogy. Now that you understand the structure, design, and can visualize Anaoikos alongside New Eden, we can adjust the analogy to something a bit more expressive. New Eden is a series of islands connected by bridges. It is this arrangement that lends itself to many of the phenomena we experience in-game. A gate camp is just a posse of bridge trolls. Hauling routes are just the shortest path from one market to another. The islands next to the ones you inhabit are your neighbors, and clusters of nearby islands may be inhabited by like-minded groups. There exist boats capable of going island to island with no bridge required, but only within certain distances. This is the equivalent of jump drives and their light-year-based restrictions. Notably, all islands are roughly equivalent. It is the inhabitants and geographical customs that lend itself to the island's identity. Anaoikos, on the other hand, is an indiscriminately vast, untraversable land connected by train. There's no locality. You have no neighbors. Trains come and go from their isolated stations and may fill to capacity with passengers and depart before it was scheduled to. Conductors in this crazy land, as mad as they are, switch the tracks every time a new train comes around. In a world of such chaos, thank goodness the trains are labeled with clues of their destinations. A traveler of Anaoikos, just by glancing around the train station, can determine if their destination is accessible. If it's not immediately so, they know that they can take a train with a specific label that will lead them to another different station where the train they actually want to board will be patiently waiting. Moving from point A to point B is one of the most satisfying and choice-rich gameplay loops in EVE. Ultimately, there are so many aspects of navigation to the point where trying to describe them all in one fell swoop would certainly be a fool's errand. Thera, filaments, jump drives, the list is long, but I would love to dive into some of those topics at a later point. For now though, I hope that you either have a greater appreciation and understanding of the clever connections that draw the galaxies of Eve, or just enjoyed the discussion.